Yeah, Bene. Um, welcome and welcome for joining us today on Inside Indie Country. And I've been really wanting to share this story for the longest of time, and I think the right time was, finally came about. I know that Melinda, you've been a very busy bee and probably still are. But I really just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing the story. And for all our listeners out there, had a chance to serve in several capacities with Sage Memorial Hospital, but really I wanted to get an opportunity to have Melinda here share her story. So, Melinda, if you could just introduce yourself to our listeners and, who you are and how you came to be where you're at there at Sage Memorial Hospital.
Yeah, thank you, Wes, and good day. And thank you for inviting us to be a part of the podcast. My name is Melinda White. I'm now Kadina and Chlimbat Ahni Bashis Chin Sinjakina that should Shay Hashk Anzoa that Chanela. I'm originally from Steamboat, however, have been in the Ganado area ever since birth. So I have a long history with Sage Memorial Hospital or Ganado, starting with I was born at the hospital. And while I was in nursing school, I attended Northern Arizona University, and the campus was on site, the Ganado compound. And I also was married, and the family that represented me or helped me during my wedding was the Sage Memorial Hospital staff. So they came in on horses and they participated in my wedding. And I did leave Sage for quite some time, for about 20 years, and returned back most recently about 3 years ago. And I did take some time and received my bachelor's and my master's degrees in health administration and nursing, um, and also in Indian law. So I thought that was a great time to come back and just really help Sage transform into an organization that provides care for the community.
Yep.
So that's who I am.
Hey, yeah, yep. You talk about your wedding. I always kind of bring up a story when I was going through my wedding. You know, the day of we were supposed to pick up the horses for me to ride the guy that we were supposed to get it from he had a last minute change, and so my brother had to drive me in with his truck, and I was like, man, this is kind of a bummer. He hits the top of the truck and goes, that's right, you got 500 horses right here. So when you bring up that horse component, it always makes me laugh about that. When I think about that. Well, thanks, Melinda, for that. And um, really, just as you mentioned, there's some real foundational roots to your connection there, and I'm probably pretty sure a lot of other employees there at Sage Memorial. So I think if you could just share a little bit, I know it started off with a four-room adobe building, and then it moved into another facility, and then now you have this, great new, facility. And if you can kind of take our listeners into that journey there, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you for asking about the history. And Sage has a long history, a long legacy of providing healthcare services. And it started in the early 1900s. And Jim Christophic actually did this whole history on Sage Memorial Hospital and how it came to be. But in 1911, the hospital at Ganado began in the back door of a mission, of a church. And Dr. Kennedy was actually providing medication from this mission. And he spent several years here, and especially during the flu pandemic, he was very helpful. And he went as far as Chinle to help the patients during the pandemic. And this is during the 1918 flu pandemic, a
Mm.
critical time. So, but he did retire, and there were several other providers that took his place, and they actually built that adobe building of this is where the first hospital is going to be. And these two providers, Doctors Alice and Gary Burke, they continued to provide services for the community members. And there was a lot of resistance, a lot of reluctance for these two providers to treat the patients because at the time, a lot of the Navajos did not trust the doctors. But there was a Hatathi that actually helped, a traditional healer that actually helped because the two doctors were able to treat him. And this Hatathi, because he was treated by the two doctors, he gave reassurance to the community members that, hey, I'm being treated by the doctors and it's okay. They're not here to harm us. So that really helped the doctors gain trust in the community. And that's where it all started.
Hmm.
So, and from that point, there was the hospital, Salisbury Hall, Ellsbury. They were built, and it actually started off as a school, and it eventually turned into a nursing school. And all the Native Americans from the different tribes came to Ganado, and they attended a school of nursing, and so they had a number of nurses that graduated from here, and they went off home to their reservations and they provided care from that point. But over time, Dr. Salisbury, who actually founded the nursing school, he continued to provide services, and he also brought in a lot of renowned doctors and like Mayo Clinic, and just really helped Sage Memorial Hospital continue to build. So at the time, the Sage Memorial Hospital had at least 45 beds, and I can't even imagine having 45 beds in Ponsell Hall. It seems like such a small hospital, and we're a critical access hospital at this time where we have 25 beds. So 45 beds is a lot. And
Yeah.
yeah, and there were also then a labor and delivery, a surgical, and they had a wide scope of services provided in Pottsall Hall. And eventually, the hospital, which was considered modern, that's the old hospital. It was built in the 1960s, and that continued to grow. And that as well was about a 45-bed hospital, and they had all of the services that we're currently trying to implement in our new facility. So it did take some time for Sage Memorial Hospital to start construction, but they started in November 2021 for the new facility, which is state of the art, and that's where we're at this time.
Right, right. No, it's kind of real kind of amazing sight as you go over the hill and you see it come out. It's beautiful. It's crazy. Yeah, no, it's kind of hearing that story from where it was to where it's now. It's just that's a lot. Means a lot. Um, so as far as your leadership and your leadership team, you definitely deliberate deliberately incorporate the NAV values to
Mhm.
the decisions you make and how you um, carry forward care for the community or and everyone around. Um, has that helped shape your decisions, and what does that go into when deciding your design or even just the new care that you're planning for to carry out in this new facility?
Yes, well, the board had actually looked at the previous logo, which had a Navajo basket in the hands, which included Western and traditional medicine incorporated. They looked at that design and decided to update it, where you see our logo now that it has a star in the middle, and it also has the red on top, the black at the bottom, and a blue wave and a yellow wave, which all represent our traditional values. So the yellow wave is actually a corn pollen, our path of life, or ina, and the blue is actually water, which Ganado has. We have a wash right next to the new hospital, and the red represents Ganado red, and the black is the Navajo side just as well. But they took that, and right in the middle there's a star which represents innovation. So that's how it all started, this whole change in the culture and how we're going to deliver care and how we're going to incorporate our traditional values and our ways of life and the services that we provide. So that's how it really started. And our board of directors, they're very fond of our way of life and wanted to ensure that our mission, vision, and values had those traditional values, the teachings incorporated. So we really do stress that to our employees. It's become our code of conduct, and just as well as for ourselves, that we feel comfortable with how we're dressed. And you'll see that a lot of our executive team members well dressed traditional. It just feels comfortable. It feels right. But I think that's been a huge part of our success just
Mhm.
as well. And one of the programs that we had started is a traditional healing program. And for a long time, Sage did not have any type of traditional healing program. So we did start those services last year, and luckily, we it is now billable. But overall, that's been a big part of our success is incorporating the traditional side.
Right, right. Would those kind of traditional practices include, like, sweat and incorporating, like you said, medicine men and stuff like that?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
we actually built a sweat, and we're in the process of hiring another traditional healer. We're looking for a female because we'd like a male and a female. And we're also in the process of building a Hogan, so that our first Hogan will be coming up hopefully before the end of the year.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. No, I wanted I want to see that out at Gal Indio Medical Center, but that'd be pretty cool. They got something like that out there. That's where that's where I spent my youth running around trying to chase me to get my teeth fixed. So, but other than that, you talk about that center of your logo being innovation. So, what are some of the things that you guys are thinking about to really modernize care, with your new facility? And what are some things that you guys have on the horizon for, considering that, um, obviously there's technology, there's, different insights from people coming on and then so forth. Just kind of give us a sense of that.
Yes, it's been a very eventful 3 years for us to improve overall the access of care and really looking at our internal process. And a good example is our electronic health record. We have a electronic health record that encompasses everything, like the financial side or an ERP. So that's been a big move for Sage, and it sometimes is very difficult for some organizations to transform into that total paperless system. And we've been able to do that moving from the old facility into the new facility. That's just an example. And the old facility, it was built in the 1960s, the late 1960s. And you can just imagine the the environment that we were previously in, and then coming into this 2024 building where everything's state of the art, all the way down to the equipment. It was just amazing to see that transformation, and that the staff were very open to that change. And we did set the goal that once we moved into the new hospital that we would become paperless. And we did that. So, other changes that happened, there was a lot of equipment upgrades that we did. We added new services such as an ICU. We also started dialysis in our inpatient, and we started a PCMH and the durable medical equipment. We started all sorts of programs when we moved into the new facility. And as far as the horizon, we're working on elder care services. We were able to obtained 2 buildings from Navajo Housing Authority. They handed over 2 buildings that were once a skilled nursing home and a group home. So we're converting those into elder care services. And we're also working on opening our labor and delivery and our surgical unit. So those are just a few things. And there's a lot of other things a lot of projects that we're working on, but those are probably our big projects.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, that's pretty exciting. I think obviously to make a lot of that happen, you need, kind of the right workforce and, planning for capacity and making sure you got the resources. So just curious, I'm sure, you know, you kind of share the same story and whatnot with rural facilities. And what are some of the challenges that you've seen so far with just maybe trying to get the right talent and get the right
Mhm.
people on board? What kind of things are you seeing, and then what are you guys doing to kind of get past those certain you know bottlenecks or just issues? Just kind of curious on that.
Yeah, it like I said, it's been a very interesting 3 years, and my background is quality. I have 20 years experience in quality management, and when I stepped into the CEO role, all I could see is all these opportunities for improvements and these plan, do, study acts, and just a number of quality initiatives and how we could improve. And the staffing side of it, you could hire individuals. However, you want to make sure, at least we wanted to make sure, and we, meaning the executive team, wanted to make sure that we hired the right individuals. And the right individuals, meaning that their purpose is in line with our core values and our mission and our vision. So, and again, it goes back to that traditional side and having respect and treating our patients as relatives.
Hmm.
So we wanted to make sure that anyone we hired, that they're in line with our mission, vision, values, and they understand that quality is important, patient safety is important. So our most challenging area of hiring has been in our clinical area. Um, Hard to believe, but our providers, we've been able to hire, and even our pharmacy, we're fully staffed. We don't have any agency in the pharmacy or in our medical side. The area that is most challenged with hiring is our nursing. And but we've been doing very well the past few months since we started marketing more and really filling those hard to fill areas. And it seems the challenge is really from the lack of housing. And since we're on this little plot of land and we have housing, we had a new medical or a new apartment building completed. However, it's not enough considering the growth of our organization. So we're seeking out more housing, and one of our capital project is to build new housing. But we do have staff that are wanting to come on board, especially the providers, the nurse practitioners, the PAs. We have a number of them that have applied, and it's just a nursing side that we're really struggling with.
Mm.
So, but I've always had this thought that, good doctors want to work with good doctors, and that's the same with nurses. Good nurses want to work with good nurses. So
Yep.
it'll move in that direction.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, no, that I'm sure it'll come back around. I mean, I think you guys got a great vision, great mission, and you know, um, no worries on at least my end. You get the right people, so hopefully, um, maybe a nurse is listening to this and want to jump on board and get ready to go. But we never know. But well, it's just as far as like you said, I know that you have your specific tie to the hospital, and then it carries a certain component in your life. Um is there any other maybe specific stories that kind of come to mind when you're thinking about now that you have um, going from the old facility and coming to the new one, what, maybe some of your patients are saying or what, they're thinking now, because maybe at one point in time they had to drive to the city or had to drive to Fort Defiance or you drive to Gallup, and to get care, but now they have this opportunity here at a local level, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we, well, Sage, the history at least 3 years ago was if you come to Sage and if the services were not available, then you were transferred out. And
Mhm.
I mean, we've really worked on that, uh, trying to bring in specialty services, even the ICU, the hemodialysis. We have a swing bed, and that makes us very unique on Navajo. We're a critical access hospital, and we're licensed for 7 beds that are swing beds, and we weren't utilizing it enough. So we looked at those programs, those services, and also, really trying to lessen that burden on our relatives and their families and making sure that we try to keep them closer to home.
Mhm.
And even if we do transfer them out, then our case managers will make attempts to contact the family and or the patient, the hospital, and try to bring the patient back, especially if they're swing bed eligible. And that was a big drive for us. So, but that's what we intended to do at the beginning, and we've been successful in making sure that we don't transfer out all of our patients or patients that don't need to be transferred. And we started looking at our data just as well, and that's where the OR, those services are coming from. Is that we're right now transferring a lot of our patients that need some type of surgical procedure done. So we really want to make sure we keep our patients closer to home.
Right.
So, but that's been a real quality initiative that we've been successful with implementing.
Right. Right. Well, that's great. That's great. I always remember back in the day at like in high school, driving my Che to Albuquerque. But what was always cool about it though, we would always stop in Albuquerque at I forget, at Grandy's, place. I always knew we get to eat at least. But yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it puts a lot of burden on families. It really
Yeah,
does. And just
yeah.
the way, that or how much gas is and the hotels.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we really looked at that and again looking at the services and how we can help our families come back home or be closer to home.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. That's definitely great. Um, so as far as, just moving forward and looking ahead, as far as what, you would consider, success, obviously there's all these different, metrics and KPI, but just
Mhm.
kind of curious, at your level and what you shared with your executive team, what are some of the indicators of success that, you're tracking, and what would be, maybe something different that um, maybe a listener might be listening to and just kind of just curious on that. What you guys consider success, you know?
Yeah. Well, of course, finance.
Mhm,
And actually, let me go back a little bit.
mhm,
As far as the hospital-wide goals, we did select several pillars. We selected finance, community, people, which is human resource, and community and quality.
mhm,
Selected those pillars, and for each one of them is a hospital uh, key performance indicator. And a good example is what I just mentioned earlier is the finance. We said we would collect a certain amount on a monthly basis, and so that was one. The other is we would vaccinate a number of our community members with the flu vaccine. We wanted to make sure that we were able to vaccinate, especially during the flu season.
mhm,
And another is has to do with billing. we're looking at the accounts receivable and making sure that we keep it below a certain amount. And the people side is just the hiring, because when we came on board, it was taking days, weeks to bring on staff. And so we looked at the process and we came up with a KPI on how we're going to hire, or interview as soon as possible when these applicants or when the position was posted and the position closed. Then we had like a number of days to get the information to the applicants and ask them in for if they qualified for an interview. So those are just some of the examples of the hospital-wide key performance indicators. Then from the department side, each one of them have their own key performance indicators, and it could be an outcome where we're talking about an adverse event, and or it could be the number of security calls that are going to happen. It's very department specific.
Hmm.
So, but we are big on quality, and in some of our departments, you'll see that there is a quality board. So,
Hmm.
some in some departments just as well, we really watched and monitor them. Purchase referred care is a good example. They were so backlogged, and we wanted to make sure that they caught up. So we really monitored like their key performance indicators of how far the backlog of claims are and the referrals.
Right, right. Well, that's definitely important because you gotta collect for the service you provide so you can put it to things that you can put into the hospital to make it grow, and sometimes that's not top of mind, and I'm really happy that you guys are thinking about that because it's definitely an important part of the process, just making sure that collect so that you can put it back in for growth. That's good thought. Now, just as we come to a wrap up here soon, just curious on what the future looks like 10, 5 years from now. What are you guys really considering, and just kind of your thoughts and visions and dreams for the facility.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, and especially expanding Sage, and we hope that we remain a critical access hospital in 10 years, but we're just expanding so much, and some of our capital projects includes a hostel, and that's at the old hospital.
Mhm.
And we really would like to offer those services to our behavioral health patients and to those patients that require services. And that's going to take some time. In addition to that, there's the elder services, that we're wanting to expand more in, and just overall the campus itself, and building more structures like a community a wellness building. We'd like to expand that, and also a warehouse for some of our facility maintenance staff are purchasing. But those are just some of the goals that are more 5 years. But in 10 years, we hope that we continue this strong foundation, that it moves forward the way that it does, and that whoever takes over, whoever the next CEO is, that they will continue with the quality, with the patient safety, and with the same thought that we have right now, and really incorporating our traditional values.
Mhm. Mhm. No, that's very cool. I just obviously from my perspective of being able to help, on the kind of consulting side, just really seeing all the growth and it was amazing to me. And like I said, I wanted to so badly, get an opportunity to speak with you and share the story, but I knew that, you had a million things on your mind trying to get this moving and get things going. And I really appreciate, your time for to come on and, share the story because it's important. I think it's a real story of just, when you well, how do I say this? When you look at the leadership, I see there's two strong Navajo women on there, right? That's what I'm. So, but on top of that, just I just always thought it was just great just to see it go from where it was to where it's at now, and I really just want to say thank you, Melinda, for taking time to join me on this and share the story for the um, for Stage Memorial Hospital, and really looking forward to sharing this so that hey, maybe out there there's somebody listening that is thinking the same thing and just wanting to gain some insight on how to move past hurdles and think about things and make it happen. So thank
Yes,
you. Yeah,
yeah, thank you so much, Wes. Thanks.
thank you.